G'day everyone, it is Coach Michelle J. Raymond. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 10 things that I think are killing your leads on LinkedIn. In today's episodes, I'm not just going to focus on the mistakes, but more importantly, I'm going to give you solutions. And we're going to jump into all of these areas right after a quick word from our podcast sponsors, Metricool. Hey listeners, I know that recently I've been sharing a lot about the cool new features that Metricool have released. But did you know that they also release every single month new social media studies with insights on how social media platforms evolve and what strategies brands can use to promote their businesses? The latest study they conducted analyzed over 9 social media platforms and more than 33 million social media posts. This 2024 social media study provides insights and trends into how social media managers and brands promote across these networks. They also recently conducted a smaller study following Olympic athletes' social media followings to see how events like the Olympics affect social media discourse. Hot off the press, the 2024 short form video study, which compares shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and TikTok videos. If you want to check out any of these studies, head across to Metricool's blog. The link will be in the show notes. Branding is something that I've come to love more and more the longer that I have my business. And as somebody that spent 20 years in B2B sales and always thought that it was the sales team that deserved all the glory, marketing really didn't do that much. I've certainly changed my tune on this. And I think if you are really struggling with your business and not getting leads on LinkedIn, branding is the first place that I would recommend to everybody to take a look at. And there are 3 key mistakes that we're going to be talking about, which I think really kill your chances of leads. The first one is not having clear positioning and messaging. And what this does is this sets you apart from your competitors, but it also gives you clarity on how you want to show up on LinkedIn. So before you even write a piece of content, before you update your LinkedIn profile, before you write your company page about section, you need to understand exactly where you fit. Now, I'm going to put a link in the podcast show notes to an episode that I did in detail on positioning and messaging with Diane Wiridu, and it was fabulous. So if this is something that you're like, Michelle, I'm not really sure what positioning and messaging is, I don't know how to do it, then I'm recommending that you take a listen to that episode. The other thing, which I know is going to help so many people, and the reason that I co-authored this book, the LinkedIn branding book, is I needed a resource when I was starting my business. I didn't know where these things really fit. For me, branding was always just colors and fonts and logos, that kind of stuff that makes every marketer listening to this podcast rock in a corner. And I totally get it. But the fact was, I didn't know what I didn't know. And the funny thing is that even when I've worked with some really big global clients, I'm not sure that when it comes to social, they're particularly clear on their positioning and messaging and how they want to show up. So I don't think that there's any particular type of business that's immune to this, or if you're an individual showing up on LinkedIn, it is definitely worth doing the work. Not sure how to do it? The good news is if you buy a copy of the LinkedIn branding book, which is available on Amazon, it is going to give you a free workbook, which you can download. Now, this workbook is going to step you through all of the steps that you need to address to set up your brand from a foundational perspective, including positioning and messaging. If you don't like reading and prefer to listen to podcasts like this one, you may not know, but I've got another podcast that I co-host with Michelle Griffin called The LinkedIn Branding Show, and we talk about this in detail every single week. The second mistake that I see happen under branding, which I think kills leads, is when people don't have unique perspectives, unique points of view that really you just blend into the background. You sound like almost like the help desk or the Wikipedia or the ChatGPT response, any of those kind of things, because what you have to say is just the same as everybody else. So what makes you different? I'll use my own case as an example. So originally, I was the only LinkedIn trainer in the world that was talking about the power of company pages. Everybody else was anti them. Now, it felt lonely and it was a bit tough, and I wanted to give it up along the way. But I realized that by being unique and having my own point of view and going against the grain and not being contrarian for the sake of it has allowed me to stand out. And, that's how I'm getting to speak on global stages like Social Media Marketing World next year in San Diego and Uplift Live in the UK. So I hope that I'll get to meet some of you listeners at either of those events. So what's a third mistake that I see when it comes to branding on LinkedIn and how that relates to killing your leads is that you're missing from your content. And what I mean by this is that there's a lot of people that share links to other people's work, that they reshare. Now, I'm a fan of reshare if you are not at a point where you can create your own content. But I'm not a fan of reshare if that's all that you're doing and trying to get noticed. The problem is you're putting the spotlight on everyone else and not on yourself and your own brilliance. Now, if you're not creating content, this would apply to the comments that you also leave on other people's posts. And if you're not doing either of those things or sending direct messages, ultimately you become invisible. I can't buy from somebody that I don't know exists. So this will also kill your leads. If you are using LinkedIn to grow your business, you have to be visible. So they're my 3 most common branding mistakes. What else is going to kill your leads on LinkedIn? Well, let's move into the next section, which is all about optimizing your presence on LinkedIn. And there's 3 main mistakes that I see under this umbrella, and they're really easy to fix. That is making sure that your profile and your company page have been set up and fully optimized. And fully optimized when it comes to company pages can be as simple as making sure everything's been completed. You will get 30% more weekly views on average if you do this task. So go back, take a look, and have a think. What keywords do I want to be discovered for? How can I really make it obvious what I do and who I do it for? You want your potential leads to know that they're in the right place. You also, with your personal profile, if you're one of those people that your profile undersells you, hasn't been completed properly, there are episodes of this podcast that I have done to help people go back and update it. If you're someone that doesn't want to do it yourself, maybe you're time poor, maybe you don't like writing, it is really tricky to write about yourself, then why don't you reach out to me? Let's book a session and I can talk to you about my LinkedIn profile done for you service. That's right. You can pay people like me to do it for you. And then you can cross it off your list and make sure that you are there and an obvious solution to your ideal clients. This is how we get leads. If it's not completed, not optimized, then they're going elsewhere. It's that simple. You are not going to show in as many searches, and that's why this work is so important. This is another thing that I think you need to be mindful of when we're optimizing your presence on LinkedIn is having a strategic outreach plan. By building a strategic community, i.e., not just scrolling the home feed and hoping that the right people show up, it means going to the search bar, using the many different filters that we've got there and looking for people in your target audience. The more times you're strategically connecting, you increase your chances of getting leads. Why? Because you've built the right audience of people that might be interested in your service. The same goes with company pages. Use your 250 page invites each month and use the filters to make sure that you're inviting targeted industry members to come and follow your page. The third thing that I want to raise with you listeners about how we optimize our presence on LinkedIn is making sure that your actions are consistent. If you are all over the place and you go through stages where you're really hot on LinkedIn and really doing a lot of activity, and then you disappear, then maybe when you want something or you haven't got enough leads, you come back again. What happens in that gap is that your competitors are stealing leads from you. They may not be as good as you, but if I can't remember who you are or who your business is, it makes no difference because there is so much research that basically says people buy what's good enough. Doesn't have to be the best, doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good enough. They have to be confident that you can get the job done. So it could be that the average person or the average company page is showing up and stealing your leads. And I don't want that for you, listeners. As we head into the last section, which I'm just going to call, are you busy being busy, or are you busy doing activities that will generate leads? Let's have a look at the 4 remaining mistakes that I see, which are most common, because the last thing that you want to do is waste precious time. That's a thing that we can't get back. The first message that I desperately want to get across in this section is that when it comes to LinkedIn, when it comes to social selling and leveraging it to grow your business, you must, I can't say it loud enough, you must focus on quality, not quantity. And I know that there are tools out there, especially the AI tools that have come out, that make the dream of getting higher numbers, connecting with more people, leaving more comments. And I can see the appeal, but sometimes more isn't better. And I would say on LinkedIn, it definitely isn't. When I talk about my growth framework with my clients, when I'm working with them, we start with the game plan. What is it that you're trying to do? Who is it that you're trying to target? And what services do you have that would make a difference to those people? And when we go into our activities on LinkedIn with this in mind, then you'll realize that it's not a big numbers game. We can really shrink down the amount of work that you have to do, which for a lot of my clients, it's the biggest sense of relief because they're actually doing less work after we do the training than what they were trying to do by themselves. When we focus on quality, that could be quality of connections, that could be quality of content, quality of comments. It doesn't matter which area you're looking at, but every step and every activity that we do is intentional with a target audience and a goal in mind. And this is how we can generate more leads for our business. This is how you can make sure that when those leads come into the business, they are the best fit possible. Not just getting big numbers just for the sake of it. I always cringe when I get people reach out to me and send me those emails or direct messages on LinkedIn, like, we can generate 1,000 leads for you. Or I got one where they offered to generate 1,000,000 leads for me. Like, what the heck am I going to do with 1,000,000 leads? So slow down if you're feeling overwhelmed and think, where is the best bang for my buck when I'm spending time on LinkedIn? The second thing that I want to talk about when it comes to activity, which probably is a follow-on from the mistake of trying to go for quantity over quality, and that's the distinct lack of personalization on LinkedIn. It's when you get those messages which you just feel like you're one of 1,000 that were sent out that week, and they haven't done their work to take a look at anything to do with who you are, what you do, checked out your profile, had a look at your recent content. And if you're guilty of this, think about what it feels like to you when it's done to you on the platform. Everybody's got horror stories of their LinkedIn inbox being full of spammy sales messages that are completely unrelated to the person. In a world of AI, where these tools are making it easier and easier, be the opposite. This is how we get more leads, by not following the crowd. You can't automate or outsource relationships. Relationship building is done human to human. I want people to start to think, how can I show up and have a conversation with another human on the platform that is targeted for that person only? And I think this is probably a great segue into mistake number 3 that I think is killing leads on LinkedIn when it comes to being busy with the wrong activities. And that is, I don't know, how do I put this nicely? Being self-absorbed. If you're on LinkedIn to make yourself look amazing, make yourself look better, it gets really tired really quickly. So being self-absorbed and not curious about what's going on in the other person's world. And by being curious, you could ask questions in comments on posts, ask them to explain things a bit further. If you're in the direct messages, a lot of people to me say they get stuck after that first connection. They've done a little bit of work to personalize the invite request, but what they haven't done is gone back and taken a look and said, well, how can I ask another question as a follow-up? So there's the, hi, thanks for connecting, full stop, game over, nowhere to go. So think about what is a question that you could ask them. So I often ask people questions like, What is it that you love most about your job? What's the biggest frustration that you have going on right now? Have you been to such and such? Do you know somebody? Have you seen this new release of this new feature? If you like podcasts, come and listen to my podcast. Find something else at that common interest and get interested in knowing about them. The more you know someone, the more that you can relate to them, the higher your chances of them wanting to work with you. And the last thing that I'm going to put, which I think is a big mistake, and that is ignoring direct messages and comments on your posts and not responding to them. Now, I'm putting my hand up. There are times when my LinkedIn direct message inbox gets out of control and I end up, going back to people and apologizing. That's taken me a little longer than I would like to respond to them. If you can relate to that, that's a different scenario to people that think posting content or getting a ghostwriter to do it on their behalf is all that you need to do on LinkedIn and it will take care of itself. I've seen people do that and I've seen the ghostwriters get frustrated because they're saying, you know what? I write the post, but LinkedIn comes from having conversations and building communities. And that takes engagement. And not just on your own posts, go and support other people as well. You've now got a list of 10 things that are potentially killing your leads on LinkedIn. And more importantly, you've got the solutions on how to fix them. We're coming into the final stretch of this year. You have 3 months left. We're not slowing down. We are the kind of people that are going to keep pushing to get better results when our competitors are giving up and they're taking the foot off the pedal. I just want to do a quick shout out to Regina Larco, who is now officially the head of the Social Media for B2B Growth podcast fan club in Austria, because she loves listening to this podcast. And I really appreciate the post that she did to share with her audience about the value that she gets from this podcast. It's just the coolest thing to know that these things are making a difference to people and it's helping them grow their business. So if this sounds like you and you are kicking goals, I'd love to hear about it. Let me cheer you on and celebrate with you. Until next week, cheers.